Welcome to the Guided Expressions podcast with Martin Williams, the place to learn and be inspired to live your best life. Here is your host, Martin Williams.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Guided Expressions podcast. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All of the podcast information can be found at guidedexpressions.com/podcast. Today, what I wanted to talk to you about is the concept of multiplication. I introduced a concept called being fruitful in a previous podcast, which is basically the importance of being productive. There are a lot of people who wonder why they don't experience consistent abundance, and a big reason for that is their lack of productivity. If you don't consistently produce, you are violating, one of the four parts of the law of growth. To review, those four parts are being fruitful, multiply, replenish, and dominate. If you do these and do them in order, you will see growth in your business and anything else that you undertake. But let's talk about multiplication. There are some people who are fruitful, but they stop or lose momentum. Maybe they're distracted or sidetracked. Either way, they stop, and because of that, they never multiply. We all learned multiplication in grade school. The Webster definition of multiplication is this: to increase or cause to increase greatly in number or quantity. Let's say you're starting a cookie business and you start to bake cookies. If you've only baked 10 cookies in your life, how good will your cookies be? Probably only so good. Now, what if you bake 10,000 cookies and improve the recipe each time, just a little bit? How good would the cookies be then? Probably much better, and you will get them to the point that they will be ready to be sold. But why is it better? Because you did it over and over again, which is the key to mastery. Most people never master anything because they stop before they reach that level. The multiply concept is designed to build up the quality of whatever you're putting out or whatever you're doing. It's designed to make you better, to the point that people will pay to hear you speak. They'll pay for those cookies. They'll pay for your coaching practice. They'll pay for your programs. That takes time and repetition. I once heard that Barry Gordy, who was the founder of Motown, had a quality assurance process with every record that was released. He asked the people who did the QA, would they spend their last dollar to buy the record? If the answer was no, then the record was not released. Is it any wonder that Motown put out hit after hit in their heyday? If you're doing a podcast and a person only has 10 minutes of free time, ask yourself, would they spend that 10 minutes listening to your podcast? Or you can ask yourself, if I only had 10 minutes, would I listen to my podcast? This requires us to be brutally honest with ourselves. If you wouldn't do that, then you have more work to do. In the multiplication process, don't just do things over and over again. Seek to improve whatever you're doing, even if you improve just one thing at a time. For me, it's my sound, it's my tone, it's the way that I speak, the way that I pace my podcast. And then with every self-critique, I aim to get better. Continue to produce more and more of whatever it is that you're doing. If you want to grow your business, grow your podcast, grow your blog, you have to continue to do it. It's not just enough to do it one time. You have to multiply what you do more and more to increase in quantity and ultimately increase in quality. Once you get multiplication down, then you can move to the next step, which is called replenish. And in the next podcast, I'll explain that. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Martin Williams, and until next time.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Guided Expressions podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify to get all the latest content from Guided Expressions. No one builds a house without a blueprint, so why are you trying to build your dream life without one? That's how the Blueprint course was created. The Blueprint course is for people who know they were meant for more. Created by Martin Williams, the Blueprint is a streamlined way to help you create the life you've always wanted. Get instant access now by clicking the link in the description box or going to guidedexpressions.com/blueprint.